I was the one who had the emotional attachment to the item and will remember it for as long as my brain will allow. To this day, I don't need the stuffed dog itself to keep that memory alive. Welcome back to Declutter for Change podcast. I'm your host, Heather Clark, your declutter expert. Last episode, we talked about the different attachment styles and how they affect not just our relationships with people, but our relationship with stuff as well. Today, we're diving deep into the topic that tugs at our heartstrings, sentimental items. Those overflowing boxes tucked away in the attic, the trinkets lining the shelves, whispering stories from the past, the clothes hanging in our closet representing phases of our lives, they all hold a special place. But sometimes they can feel like a suffocating weight, holding us hostage to the past and preventing us from moving forward. Brace yourselves, because decluttering sentimental items is not for the faint of heart. It's a full-on emotional roller coaster, a gut punch of joy, sorrow, and maybe even a sprinkle of anger. You might be surprised at how deeply these seemingly ordinary objects can affect you. Imagine this. You're casually sorting through a box when you unearth a childhood report card. A wave of emotion crashes over you. Pride, as you see the A in science, but then shame creeps in at the memory of the dreaded D in history. It's a 1-2 punch of accomplishment and regret, all triggered by one piece of paper. And it doesn't stop there. A dusty concert t-shirt can transport you back in the night of the mosh pits and screaming lyrics, the euphoria so real you can almost feel the sweat dripping down your face. But then, a rush of sadness hits you as you realize you haven't listened to that band in years, a reminder of how time marches on. Decluttering sentimental items can also unearth buried conflicts. That fruitcake from Aunt Mildred you never liked? Holding it brings back a flood of forced smiles and awkward holiday dinners. You might even feel a flicker of anger at the pressure to keep something you never truly appreciated. But here's the surprising thing. Amidst the emotional chaos, there's a sense of liberation. Letting go of a chipped mug you haven't used in a decade feels like shedding a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional burden. It's a chance to acknowledge the past, to thank the objects for the stories they hold, and to make space for new experiences to fill your life with joy. We all know the struggle. You dream of decluttering, creating a calm and organized space, and simplifying your life. But letting go of sentimental items feels like a betrayal. You worry about losing precious memories, feel guilty for discarding something someone gave you with love, and get overwhelmed by the sheer number of decisions you have to make. Let's face it, we've all got our own Sarahs and Davids out there. Sarah, who can't bear to part with her childhood report cards, even though they bring back memories of anxiety and pressure. David, drowning in old concert t-shirts, each one a faded reminder of the night he can barely recall. And of course, the ever-present box of greeting cards, overflowing with well wishes and birthday messages, some from loved ones long gone. These are real challenges, and the emotions are completely valid. Here's the thing. Decluttering sentimental items isn't about throwing everything away and building a life free from the past. It's about creating a system, a philosophy, for keeping what truly fits your lifestyle and letting go with peace. The key lies in asking yourself some key questions. Does this object bring me genuine happiness? When I hold it, does it evoke a positive memory that I can cherish without the physical items? Sometimes a simple photograph or a heartfelt journal entry can hold more meaning than a dusty trinket. Imagine this, a virtual museum of your life, accessible at the touch of a button. You can scan photos, create digital scrapbooks, or even record yourself recounting cherished memories. This way, you keep the essence alive in a more space-saving way and can revisit the past whenever you like. But decluttering isn't just about elimination. It's about curation. Let's focus on keeping a proper number of items that tell your story. Maybe it's a carefully curated selection of photos from each stage of life, a favorite article of clothing repurposed into a memory quilt, or a special box filled with treasured keepsakes that represent significant moments or relationships. Letting go doesn't have to be a cold, emotionless process. Consider creating a ritual for release. Write a goodbye letter to an item you're letting go of, thanking it for memories and acknowledging its role in your life. Donate to a cause you care about or pass it on to a loved one who will cherish it. This allows you to acknowledge the emotional value while creating space for new beginnings. I had old toys that I had given my kids from when I was younger. I didn't keep all the toys I had, but rather the ones that I loved the most and brought me the happiest memories. These toys, however, are now gone because a tornado hit the matrimony home back in 2014. That's a story for a future episode. A particular toy I had that my aunt and uncle gave me was a little white stuffed doll. They gave it to me around the time I was in the hospital getting my ear tubes put in, and I just adored the thing. It was small enough to hold in my one hand and come with me everywhere, and everywhere it came. I used to roll the ears inwards, which made it look like a bear. He was a shapeshifter. A couple of years ago, I was talking to that aunt and telling her about the stuffed animal. Well, guess what? She had no memory herself of giving it to me, and that's perfectly okay. I was the one who had the emotional attachment to the item and will remember it for as long as my brain will allow. To this day, I don't need the stuffed dog itself to keep that memory alive. Now, let's get specific. Photos and memorabilia can be organized into beautiful memory boxes, scrapbooks, or albums, categorized by theme or year. Relive those vacations and revisit those milestones, all through curated collections. My favorite way has been and always will be creating a scrapbook. Whether digital or physical, I've been a huge scrapbook fan for decades. My best friend and I used to scrapbook together all the time before we had kids. We both still love the idea of scrapbooking, but don't have time right now. I've switched to doing digital scrapbooks as I don't have to worry about the printing off the photos or buying embellishments for my pages. This meant that I got rid of so many scrapbook items years ago. Now, had I known my daughter was going to get into scrapbook journaling, I might have kept a few items. But hindsight is always 2020. My old items went to someone who actually was going to use them, and my daughter and I have been able to start her small collection of items she really loves. Just because I no longer have the items doesn't mean they still don't have sentimental memories. Clothing with sentimental value can be repurposed into keepsakes. Imagine a cozy memory quilt for your grandchild or great niece and nephew, each patch a piece of your story, or a scarf for a loved one crafted from a favorite piece of clothing. These keepsakes don't just hold memories, they create new ones. One way I've seen this is turning a favorite t-shirt from a loved one that has passed into a teddy bear. I've also recently seen clothing turned into stems of a plant, and this one has to be my ultimate favorite one, and one in which I plan to use myself. I'll add the photo of this plant to the show notes, which you can find at declutterforchange.com/decluttering sentimental items. Gifts are a tricky one. We appreciate the thought behind them, but that doesn't mean we're obligated to keep everything. Sometimes letting go with gratitude honors the sentiment more than holding on to the item we don't use or love. Imagine the joy it could bring to someone else in need. Family heirlooms aren't just items, they're pieces of your family history. Passing them on with stories attached ensures their legacy lives on. Research the history of the item, document it, and perhaps even write a letter to the next generation explaining its significance. This way, the object becomes more than just a possession. It becomes a connection to your past and bridge to your future. And please make sure that you display these items for all to enjoy. Don't just shove them back into the box that sits in the attic or the back of your closet. If it has a story, make it a conversational piece of your home. Decluttering sentimental items is about creating space for new memories and experiences. It's not about erasing the past, but about cherishing it in a way that empowers us to move forward. Start small and be your own cheerleader. Don't try to conquer the Mount Everest of clutter in one go. Begin with a single box or category of sentimental items, like old concert tees or childhood toys. Set realistic goals. Think of achievable milestones, perhaps 30 minutes a day or a few hours a week. Celebrate each decluttered box as a victory to your path to a lighter, more manageable space. Embrace the power of maybe. If you're unsure about an item, create a maybe pile. Come back to it with fresh eyes later or seek a trusted friend's opinion. Sometimes a night's sleep or second glance can bring clarity. Focus on the positive outcomes. Visualize the sense of calm and clarity that comes with a decluttered space. Imagine the joy of rediscovering cherished memories tucked away in a forgotten box. I've said this in many past episodes and will continue to say it. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Every item you declutter is a step towards a lighter and more manageable space. Acknowledge your efforts, big or small. Remember, you're not alone in this decluttering journey. Millions of people struggle with sentimental clutter. Decluttering sentimental items can be an emotional roller coaster, but it can also be liberating and empowering experience. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you and making space for what truly matters. So the next time you tackle a box of sentimental items, be prepared for the emotional ride. It will be messy, it will be intense, but ultimately, it can be a powerful and positive experience. It's a chance to reconnect with who you were, appreciate who you are, and embrace the exciting possibilities that lie ahead. If you're feeling overwhelmed by sentimental clutter, I encourage you to take the first step today. Start with a small box, ask yourself those key questions we discussed, and remember, letting go doesn't have to mean forgetting. Together, let's create homes that reflect the joy and simplicity we deserve. If you're feeling overwhelmed by clutter or simply want to connect with others on a similar journey, head over to our community, Declutter for Change group. We'd love to have you. You can find the link for the Facebook group and any other resources from the episode at declutterforchange.com/decluttering sentimental items. Remember, as you simplify, each item that you let go of brings you one step closer to a lighter, freer, more aligned life. As you clear out the clutter, be kind to yourself and celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Keep sorting, keep simplifying, and keep thriving. And hey, if you want more decluttering tips and inspiration or just want to connect, be sure to follow me on social media. You can find me at Declutter for Change. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy decluttering.